FPL is live. We can now make our game week 1 squads. I've gone with no Haaland and a budget backline. This is my game week 1 first draft. Welcome to the Gianni YouTube show. Hope you guys are well and you're enjoying pre-season. Without further ado though, let's check out my 15-man squad. Guys, if you fancy hitting those buttons, please do like and subscribe to the channel. So much pre-season content planned. But without further ado, let's have a look at who I've gone with in goal. Guys, I think it's going to be another year of the 4.5 rotating goalkeepers. And actually, yes, it's not just a newly promoted goalkeepers at 4.5. We've got Areola at 4.5. We've got Flecken. We've got the Palace boys. So I'm going to kick us off with Henderson in goal at 4.5 million. And Palace are a really, really good back line. I'm going to tell you in just a second how he rotates with Flecken, who's going to be my number 2. And I'm also going to show you some data about why they're so good defensively. So Henderson in goal, 4.5, kicks off the season to Brentford, West Ham and Chelsea. And he rotates fairly well with Mark Flecken. Now, Brentford aren't the best defence, but Flecken's not going to get that much game time in this squad. So let's pop Flecken on the bench and Henderson in between the sticks. Now, Sam Johnson could become or be Palace's number 1. I don't expect him to be. I expect Dean Henderson to get the nod. He made the England squad and he finished the season as Palace's number 1. But at times last season, Johnson was ahead of him. When Johnson got injured, Henderson came in, played well. Pre-season will tell us. But of course, I could always switch out to Johnson, who is also 4.5. But Palace defence is very, very good. And this is how the two rotate. We can see here on the side of the screen between both Henderson and Flecken, they'll get a bit of game time each. I've highlighted in yellow the fixture I'll probably go with. Kicking off the season maybe with home advantage to Flecken, who these two play each other. And then it goes West Ham United at home, Southampton at home, Leicester at home, Man United at home, West Ham at home, Wolves at home, Forest away, Ipswich at home, Wolves away. From the first 10 fixtures, 8 of them are at home if I go with this rotating pair. I really like that option. So, they're my 2 goalkeepers. It's only 9 million spend. Of course, if you're happy to spend 5 million on a keeper, you can get Emi Martinez, you can get Jordan Pickford. There are, of course, good options. But let's just show you some defensive data before I show you my 5 defenders, shall we? Because if we look at last season's defensive data, Crystal Palace and Everton feature in the top 5. Now, I've ranked these from goals conceded, expected goals conceded, and clean sheets. I'll do another episode purely on defensive data and look at this in more granular detail later in pre-season. So if you're subscribed, you'll see that video dropping in the next few days or weeks. But just as a snapshot, it's Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, the top 3 defences in the league from last season, but also Crystal Palace and also Everton, which is why both these teams feature in my Game Week 1 draft, because their players are cheap, right? So let's talk now about defenders. And of course, we saw Liverpool there, 3rd best for defensive data last season. Well, Trent Alexander-Arnold offers way more than defensive data, doesn't he? At 7 million, he makes it in as my only premium defender. He has had a big price reduction. He's playing possibly at right back, possibly more inverted. We don't quite know where he'll set up under slot. I expect he'll be a right back that has complete license to get forward. The creativity is always there with Trent, and because of that, he does well in the bonus point system. Assist threat is high. Goal threat for a defender is high. And there's a reason why he's been the most expensive defender in FPL for a long time now. The fixtures for Liverpool are probably the main reason why I'm willing to punt here over the Arsenal defenders, for example, who have a worse fixture run. Now, the Liverpool opening fixtures, they're at the top of the ticker for most. They have Ipswich away on the opening day. Then it's Brentford, United, Forest and Bournemouth. Surely we get some clean sheets and attacking returns. I feel like Trent has a very, very good chance. Maybe a bit of a point to prove after being snubbed by England as well. Like he was on the bench for most of the Euros, wasn't he? So Trent is in at 7 million. And alongside him, I'm going for 5 million defender. Now we have several options here at the back. And I'm going to talk about rotating defenders in just a sec and show you another graphic. But before I do, let me introduce you to Ian Maatsen. So Maatsen is a kid. He's 22 years old. He's been bought by Aston Villa from Chelsea, where he struggled to get in the first team. Now, he's been owned by Chelsea for a few years and shipped out on loan. Now, last season at Dortmund, he had a really good campaign. Dortmund, great run in the Champions League. In the Bundesliga, we played around 15, 16 games, couple of goals, couple of assists. He bombs forward at left back. He was in the Netherlands squad for the Euros. And Aston Villa have paid 35 million for him. Now, Aston Villa surely don't pay 35 million for a left back and not start him. I know there is strength there at left back. I expect them to sell one of the other guys, Maatsen to be first choice. If pre-season indicates that he's not going to be first choice, then sure, Maatsen is a risky punt here, but I think he'll probably make it in. I do have options. 4.5 million Konza is a cheap route to that Aston Villa defence. It would save me $500,000. But for the time being, Maatsen is in, again with good fixtures and high upside. Now let's talk about the 4.5 guys. I am going with 3 4.5 million defenders. Yes, that's right, 3. No 4 million fodder. And the reason I'm doing that is because of the new rule changes in FPL. Because we can accumulate our transfers for up to 5 game weeks now, up to 5 free transfers, I think that means we're going to want a more settled squad and a better bench. Because when your player gets suspended or injured or loses form or loses his place in the team, rather than knee-jerk sell that player, I think we're going to be going, let's keep them in and bench them and have a sub come in for them. Because we're trying to accumulate 3-4 transfers for a mini wildcard later down the line. So therefore, the 4.5 million options are brilliant. There is Mark Gahey, who doesn't make it in. I've got Palace covering goal. There is Konza, I've just mentioned. There is Lisandro Martinez at Man United, who doesn't make it in. But I'm going for, let's kick us off with Dan Burn. Now, again, pre-season will tell us if he's in the starting 11. It is worth noting, Dan Burn's probably not going to be starting at centre-half if Cher and Botman are fit. And we hope he'd starting at left-back as he did a lot last season. But Lewis Hall had a really good end to the campaign last season, and Newcastle have bought Kelly from Bournemouth. So with that signing and with Lewis Hall, there is a huge amount of pressure on Dan Burn. Burn could come out for one other Newcastle defender at 4.5 million. Pre-season will tell us who to go for, but I don't want to spend the money on Cher at 5.5. So Burn might not remain, but that slot as a Newcastle defender I think will. The fixtures for Newcastle again are really good. They're top of the ticker for many. So we've spoken about Burn. I've given you some other great 4.5 options, but the fourth defender I'm going for, and at the moment he's going to take the first bench slot, right? So first on my bench, introducing Lewis Dunk. The new bonus point system for extra BPS for shots. Well, he's a defender that shoots more than most. Goal line clearances and stuff like that. Yeah, good for. He's always done well in the bonus point system, but he offers goal threat. And Dunk, for me, should have been 5 million. And I think Brighton, under this new manager, who's done really well defensively at some of his other clubs, this is a young new manager who's got a good track record in the last few seasons of keeping clean sheets for his side. I think Brighton might convert to a team that actually shuts a lot of teams out. And if they do, Lewis Dunk will be their best defender. He's always their best defender, and he mops up the bonus points. So 4.5 with goal threat, Lewis Dunk is in. Again, I'm going to show you in just a sec the rotating trends. My fifth defender, again, I showed you a graphic earlier of the best defences from last season. Palace feature in the top 5, but so do Everton. Everton centre-backs are expensive. Tarkowski and Branthwaite, 5 million. I say expensive, they're still good value. I haven't got the money for them. I might have in later drafts, but for draft 1, I'm going with a cheap route to the Everton backline. I can't get to Pickford, I can't get to Tarkowski, I can't get to Branthwaite. But Ashley Young's just signed a new 1-year deal. So let's drop Ashley Young in because he's going to be starting whether it's left back or right back. I know he's an old man, but Sean Dyche likes his tried and tested. And unless they go and buy a couple of fullbacks, I think Young is pretty nailed to start, whether it's at left or right back, knowing he's now got that 1-year contract extension. At 4.5 million, the fixtures are nice, and also just long-term, Everton defensive cover is a smart move. I know I've gone a little bit budget there. Maybe Branthwaite, Tarkowski, they're worth the extra if you can reach them. So that's my 5 defenders. Now, Trent, let's assume, starts every game, but the other 4 could rotate. So let me just show you this graphic on the far side of how they could rotate. Now, rather than pick out who I'm going to start each week, it's too early to say. I've just picked out the tricky fixtures for them. So in game week 1, they've all got a good run. In game week 2, we can see in red, 3 of them do have tricky fixtures. But most of these weeks, you won't see more than 2 of them in a tricky fixture. And I only need 2 of the 4 to start. It will always be a back 3, and then a sub 1, sub 2 will probably be my defenders. So as we can see, as we go through, game week 3, 2 of them have good fixtures. 4, 3 of them have good fixtures. Game week 5, they all have a good fixture. And most weeks, you're getting 2, 3 good fixtures, and I only need 2 of them to start. But checking the rotation between your defence, I think is really, really important, assuming we're playing with a back 3 this season. So that's my defence, but this is where it gets really exciting. Let's move on to the midfield and, of course, our forwards. Guys, thank you so much for your support pre-season. I've seen loads of you already coming in. Boy, have I got loads planned. So hit that subscribe button and please like the video. Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts on my strategy as well. So I'm spending money up front and I'm spending money in the midfield. I've already said, spoiler alert, there's no Erling Haaland. But let's look at how I'm going without Haaland. And first up, it's Mo Salah. 12.5 million. Top of the ticker, Liverpool for fixtures. Salah to start the season with a bang. Now it's worth noting, those going without Haaland need alternative captains. And there's been no better alternative captain in this game for the last 5-6 seasons than a Mo Salah. He's always been either the best or the best alternative, without shadow of a doubt. He's been consistent. Even last season wasn't his best year. He still delivered over 200 points. So when we look at Erling Haaland's game week 2 and game week 4, where he plays Ipswich at home and Brentford at home, and a lot of managers, most managers will be captaining Haaland. Who does Salah play? Who does Palmer play? Who does Foden? Foden plays the same team. Look at those captain alternatives. And for me, Mo Salah, you go, oh, game week 2, you could captain Salah. He's got Brentford at home. You go up against Haaland with Salah, Brentford at home. Game week 4, when Haaland's got a good fixture, well, Salah also has a good fixture, Nottingham Forest at home. So Salah, for me, is a bit of a lock, especially if you're going without Haaland. I just hope under the new manager we see the same Mo Salah, and I think we will. I think, if anything, he'll be a little bit more narrow and therefore in more shooting positions. With the new bonus point system, you can expect to see more BPS from Mo Salah because he accumulates shots on target and he gets fouled more. They're 2 of the 4 new metrics. Mo Salah would have got about 20% more BPS last season with those 2 metrics added. So again, he gets more points because of the new bonus point system. Another player who benefits from the new bonus point system more than anyone else, pretty much, is Phil Foden. And that's because Phil Foden, accumulatively speaking, gets more fouled and more shots and therefore more BPS than any other player from last season with the new system in place. Foden is rank 1 as the player who would benefit most under the new system. Foden is also, I think, underpriced at 9.5 million. I felt like he should have been the same as Palmer and Saka. I thought Palmer, Saka, Foden, same price. And I thought probably 10 million. He's $1 million cheaper than Palmer. And he plays for a much better team with more consistency. I know he doesn't have pens. And I know Saka has pens too. And that's why Foden's had a bit cheaper. He doesn't have pens. But Foden scored more points than Saka last season. And he wasn't far behind Palmer at all. So that's where we're at. In fact, you can see the point scorers from last season on the side of the screen. Like, there's not much splitting them. I feel like $1 million is very, very generous. So Foden is a lock for me, and this, again, especially with no Man City teams. Guys, I'm going to show you some attacking data from last season in just a second. Anthony Gordon in at number 3, 7.5 million. I feel like slightly underpriced. So good last season. The fixtures for Newcastle are also really impressive. He's a bit of a minutes monster. Even when he looks injured, he plays on and gets 90. A point to prove again, a bit like Trent after being pretty much left out by England throughout most of the Euros, and fans were screaming for Gordon to play. There is a bit of transfer speculation over his future. Liverpool heavily linked, but I think he stays, and regardless, 7.5 million for Gordon with the fixtures they've got. And I'm going to show you Newcastle attacking data, which will make you want to consider the double up in just a second. But let's move on to midfielder number 4, and this is a 3-4-3 formation. So Nkunku, despite the difficult fixture, is in this team. I can't afford Palmer, and it breaks my heart. But I wonder if Nkunku, who you save 4 million, by the way, the saving between Nkunku and Palmer is absolutely huge. 4 million, and you could get similar output. Now, I expect Palmer to deliver more points, but will he deliver more points that justifies 4 million? I'm not sure. If Nkunku stays fit, if he's first choice, which he will be, he could even play number 9. We don't know where he'll play in this Chelsea system under Maresca. But Nkunku has played a lot in his career as the number 9, a lot as the number 10. He's played off the wing as well. Because Palmer will play the 10, I think, and Jackson's not that elite, and if they don't buy a number 9, I wonder if we see Palmer behind Nkunku. What a front 2 that could be. And Nkunku listed as a 6.5 mid, he could break the game. Or he could get injured and be rubbish. Let's see. Pre-season will tell us lots. So Nkunku is in. The Chelsea fixtures don't start great with Man City, but we can see here on the graphic, Wolves and Forest. And then again, it's not bad. They play Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham. It's a good first 5 fixtures overall. So now the 4 midfielders. I'm going to give you midfielder 5 just for the bench. Now, this is a third bench spot. Usually my third bench spot would be a 4 million defender, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm going with a slightly different strategy this year because of the idea of accumulating transfers because of the new rules. So I've gone for a bit of a fodder here. Now, there are options at 4.5 million in midfield, newly promoted teams, defensive midfielders that will probably be starters. I've picked a guy that probably won't be a starter, but could have high impact. 1 off the bench, or 2 if there's an injury, could be an exciting pick. Again, this could change pre-season, but at the moment, I've gone with Matheus Franca, the Brazilian kid at Palace. 1, because I like the Palace attack, and 2, because he actually offers upside when he's on the pitch. How much will he feature in my team as third sub? Very, very little. But Franca, 1 to watch. Big hopes for him at Crystal Palace, and he had a good couple of games at the end of last season. Glasner likes him. Before we see the forward stuff, I've got to show you some attacking data, haven't I? So guys, thank you for hitting those buttons. I can see many will be hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for your support and for liking the channel. I'm going to do an attack-only episode in a couple of weeks, couple of days' time. But this is the best attack from last season. Like with defence, I filtered it from 3 metrics and I've ranked them. Goals, expected goals, and big chance total for that team. No surprises, Man City are top. They're equal top with Liverpool, who are very, very good in attack. Newcastle are third, which is why Gordon's in my team. Arsenal are fourth, Chelsea are fifth. But Newcastle are third, guys. Newcastle created more big chances than any other team last season. They created the 4th highest XG, they scored the 4th highest goals, but the most big chances. Now, for a lot of that season, let's go back to my team. For a lot of that season, Isak was injured at times. When Isak's on the pitch, they're way more efficient in front of goal. So actually, let's drop now right away in. I guess he's my second striker because he's not the most expensive. Spoiler alert. But let's drop Isak in with Gordon and Dan Burn. I've got a Newcastle triple up. Wow, that's exciting. I quite like that. It's eggs in baskets, but I'm here for it because, again, when we see the fixture tickers, it's Liverpool and Newcastle with the best opening games from all the big teams. I'll show you a fixture ticker in just a second. So Isak is in. He's 8.5 million. I feel like he could have easily been 9. He could have easily been 9. His end to the season was superb. And on the opening day, Southampton at home is a really good fixture. Remember how strong Newcastle are at St James's Park. I guess at the back of my mind, I've got a slight doubt over Eddie Howe's future in the England job. That could change my commitment to Newcastle. But if Howe is there, triple Newcastle, I really like it. Let's look at forward number 1, though. Just skipped him, haven't I? Shouldn't be skipping this guy. This guy was the best point scorer up front in FPL last season. He outscored Haaland, even without penalties, and that is Ollie Watkins. Now, I have to mention penalties because Douglas Luiz has left. Now, Watkins isn't good at pens, and Douglas Luiz took them off Watkins. Does Watkins get them back? Or if Tielemans on the pitch, does he take them? Maybe. But I fancy Watkins to get them back as the striker. Now, whether he's good or not, he's still going to score more than he misses, and having pens is massive appeal. To be the top scoring forward last season and not have pens, I thought was pretty remarkable. And I fancy Ollie Watkins to do the same again. I like Aston Villa in attack and defence. I like Emery. I like the fixtures, West Ham, Arsenal, Leicester to open the season. And I like the fact he's the talisman for that football club. So Ollie Watkins at 9 million feels like an absolute steal. Guys, he probably should have been more expensive. If he was 10, he'd still be tempting a fair few. Now, my third striker is a striker that starts. It's not a bench player. And again, there are some great bench options. João Pedro, 5.5. Armstrong at Southampton, 5.5. Muniz at Fulham, 6 million. There's cheap third striker options. But the way I'm setting my team up, I'm going with 3 forwards. And I'm going Solanke. And again, a player who's had a summer off. Just like Isak, no tournament football. Fresh legs come game week 1. And a lot of my players you'd fancy for summers off, like Nkunku, Salah, Isak, Watkins. A lot of my defenders haven't been busy this summer. And I quite like that. So sure, I'm not picking players exclusively that had summer breaks. God no, I still want Watkins and I want Foden, I want Gordon, I want Trent. But I think this helps the likes of Solanke, and it will help him that he has a very good opening run. I'll show you his fixtures in more detail in just a second, but 7.5 million, one of the best performing forwards last season. Again, for the extra bonus points of shots on target, Solanke accumulates a lot. He also gets fouled a lot. So Solanke at 7.5 million feels like a little bit of a lock in my team. So look, there are my three forwards, Watkins, Isak and Solanke. We'll recap the team in just a second. That's my 100 million spent. But let me just show you that fixture ticker. I've got the big 8, but I also have 3 or 4 other teams here at the bottom. Yeah, 4 teams. We've got Fulham, Palace, Everton and Bournemouth. Now, I just picked out some selected others to show you how good the fixture runs for these 4 teams are. So sure, I don't have any Fulham players in. I've got Palace players because their fixtures are good. It's Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester United. I've got Everton players because I fancy an Everton player, Ashley Young, to keep plenty of clean sheets. And I've got Solanke because all these teams, Palace, Everton and Bournemouth, have good opening fixtures. They've got good stats from last season. If they have good pre-seasons, they'll become locks in this team. It feels too early to talk about any locks, so I don't want to overcommit to absolutely any, and I will update this draft. But at the moment, I've thought long and hard over this. I've been tinkering since the reveals from last week. And I was waiting for the game to go live so I can just about see everyone's price and then commit. But as things stand, I'm really happy with this 3-4-3 formation with Fodder as my 4.5 mid on the bench as my third sub, but 2 good 4.5 defenders to come in as I try and accumulate more and more transfers. In terms of captaincy away from Haaland, I can still go Foden and back that Man City attack and cover some of those Haaland points. But I can also go Mo Salah, who has great fixtures when Haaland has great fixtures. We've spoken about that. And maybe even an Isak or a Watkins as a differential captain option as well. Guys, if you've enjoyed this video, do drop a comment and let me know. Loads planned. I've got an ultimate guide video out, which I'm going to show you very soon as well. So much more. We're going to have interviews with some former Premier League footballers, see their teams, and we're going to see an FPL champion team on this channel from the winner 2 years ago as well. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that and way more content to come. On your way out, please do hit the like button, but more importantly, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, do hit that button, and I will see you for another video very soon. Thanks, guys.